Okay, so 84, 85. 84, adding and subtracting like terms with variables. So we want to make sure we can do the addition and subtraction with the decimals and the fractions, because we're going to end up doing problems like 9 and 10 where the variables are attached. And so over there in the green to the right, those are the examples from the homework. From 0.4. I said 8.4 and I wrote, look, I put 8 again. Anyway, my math 10B is in chapter 8. My math 10A is in chapter 1. You guys are working in chapter 0, and it's like,
I was like, tell you. One year I was teaching calculus. I was teaching advanced math. Took 2 separate classes using 3 different books doing the same thing. Because we didn't have that book. So I think that's where my brain started losing. So 0.4. Then on Friday, we'll finish up 0.5. 0.5 is going to be rules of exponents. So we did a little bit last week. We're going to do a whole lot more, plus scientific notation. And those are the examples in blue for 0.5 that we will cover. Now, starting Friday, the test prep, the practice test, and you get 5 attempts at the practice test. It'll be just like taking a quiz on Pearson. So you can start taking the practice test. There's 20 questions in the test prep. And on Monday, if we haven't finished up 0.5, we'll finish that up. But I'll go over questions from the test prep. The goal is to have the test start that Monday after our 9:30 class and due on Tuesday. And we'll know more this Friday. And be due on that Tuesday night at 11:59. And so Wednesday, we start up chapter 1. But the test is going to be on Pearson. This is, I believe it's one of maybe 2 tests we're going to do on Pearson. Okay? Any questions?
So the chapter 0 test is going to be in class at all?
Chapter 0 test is not going to be in class. I believe it's going to be timed, and let me show you. That's what I did want to show you, so you don't have panic. This may not mean much to you, but seven nerves. Sometimes it does. So right here. Okay. Here's the test practice. These are the test practice, the question detail. Okay, so there's 20 questions on the test practice. And according to Pearson, how long should it take to do the test practice? It should take 22 minutes and 7 seconds, combined with 1 easy question, 16 moderate questions, 3 hard questions, 0 very hard questions. And then it breaks down how many of each kind. There's 1 minute, 47 seconds for question number 1 here, adding real numbers, subtracting real numbers, 31 seconds. So it breaks it down to how many minutes and seconds for each one. Now here is what it looks like for the test. There's 17 problems on the test. Okay, 17 questions, 1 easy, 14 moderate, 2 hard questions. No very hard questions. Basically, I'm taking it from homework. It should take about 20 minutes, 15 seconds, according to Pearson. So it is going to be timed. I'm going to give you an hour and 15 minutes, just like the class, as if you were doing it in class. It will still have the, save it and come back later, like I did for the quiz. So if you have to stop for a minute and come back to it, if you hit save, you cannot go backwards and do any of the previous questions. And you have to save it before you look at the next question. Okay, I demonstrated for you for the quiz. That's why you want to do the test prep. Okay. If you look at it, subtract real numbers, divide real numbers. So exponential notation. Nothing with this stuff. Okay. Before you do anything, before you start this question, simplify anything that can be simplified. And that means, just in case you want to get it correct, write it down. 2 consecutive negatives. Take the time. 5.32. This becomes plus 3.24. And this is now plus 7.93. And then minus 11.96. And you see that you have a positive and a positive and a positive. So you're going to add those 3 numbers together, and then you take away 11.96. It might be easier if you rewrote this vertically. Just make sure your decimals and your place values line up. 5.32, 3.24, 7.93, 2 plus 4 is 6, 2 plus 3 is 9, 3 plus 8 is 5, 5 plus 9 is 14, carry 1, 6 plus 3 is 9, plus 7 is 16, you're going to carry 1, 16.49. So now we have 16.49 minus 11.96. In the hundredths, 9 minus 6 is just 3. In the tenths, you can't take 9 from 4, so we've got to borrow. So that is now 5 ones, and this is now 14 in the tenth place. So 14 minus 9, 5. In the ones, 5 minus 1 is 4. And in the tens, 1 minus 1 is 0. So this is equal to positive 4.53. Any questions? The key is, though, that was the key. Simplify that and make it a positive. You're seeing consecutive sign for number 5.
No.
So we can just add and subtract from left to right. Or you can rearrange it, gather all the positives and then gather all the negatives. That's up to you.
You have 11.96 products that are 11.26.
Well, then why didn't you tell me way back when?
Like I
2, 6, 2, 6, 2, 6. So I'm not going to borrow. 4 minus 2, that's a 2. So 6 minus 1, that's a 5. So 5.2. So if you had the last one, if you got the last answer, you were wrong, just like because I wrote wrong. But here's the problem. Now, again, I can say I did that on purpose. Thank you for paying attention. No, I didn't. I don't know why I wrote the wrong one. But when you make that problem on your Pearson attempt, it's such an innocent, simple mistake. And if you're just typing it into your calculator, you may not realize you typed in a wrong number. And then you write down what your calculator says because, hey, calculator is going to give you the right answer. My son-in-law told me when he was a computer engineering major, which he then changed his major to history. Because you know how hard computer engineering really is. So he has his master's in urban planning and he works for the city of Burbank. He actually got the guy that does Donald Duck's voice. He got his house designated as a Burbank historical landmark. So that's what he loves to do is history and those kinds of research films. He's one of those weirdos that can write paper. He'd rather do that than do both. So he told me a calculator is only as smart as the person using it. Yeah, well, if you don't press the right buttons like I was doing on Friday, makes sense. Okay. If you want to take the chant and rearrange it so you have all the positives first and then all the negatives, just make sure you check them off. That's a positive 1.39. The next positive I see is this one, 12.7. The next positive is this one, 0.04. And then the rest of them are minus. So minus 9.27, and then minus 0.46, and then minus a 5. So these three positives, 1.39 and 12.7 and 0.04, make sure the decimal lines up so your tenths line up and your hundredths line up. What is missing right here? You have 0 in the hundredth place. The worst thing you can do is write this number as 12.7. Because now you have the tenths in that hundredth place. 9 plus 4 is 13, get 1, 4, 7 is 11, and that's a 0, so that's a 1 in the tenths. Here's 1, we have 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 2 is 4, and then we have the positive added to 14.13. Then minus. These are all negative, so they're going to combine and equal a negative number. We have a negative 9.27 and a negative 0.46 and then a negative 5, which is a 5.00, so it lines up. 7 and 6 is 13, paired with 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 4 is 7 in the hundredth place, and then 9 plus 5 is 14. So that's a total of 14.73 negative. Who has more positives than negatives? How many more?
It's
66. $14.13 and $14.73. All I have in my, I want to buy something for $14.73, but all I have is $14.13. So I'm short 60 cents. Or you can just do the subtraction. You know the answer is going to be a negative because there's more negatives than positives. And then you go 14.73 and subtract. How many more negatives are there? 14.13. 13, 3 minus 3 is 0. 7 minus 1 is 6. 4 minus 4 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. So the difference between these two is 0.60. and it's negative. Now, you do get to use a calculator, so if you do use a calculator, then you can just input the information one at a time. But you got to be careful. If you input this one first, how do you know how to input a negative number as the first number? Because you don't push minus. You know how to input a negative number.
Yeah.
Everybody, good. I see. That's you.
And I have little brackets and a.
Yeah. So basically, it's right next to the equals at the bottom of the calculator. The calculator will tell you you're wrong. You can't put a minus in front of it. You have to put a negative in front. Okay, fractions. Five over 6. 5 over 3. 7. 9. 1. Okay. Gotta have a common denominator. What's the common denominator for 6? 12. Now, you can use 12, bring in 6, go 12. You could use 18. You could use 30. You could use 60. You could use 300. Those are all common denominators. But the bigger the denominator, the more work you have to do to simplify your answer at the end. That's why they always call it find the smallest common denominator, the least common multiple. What's the first? Get your 3, that's your 6. What's the first multiple that each one can divide evenly? 3 goes into 3. 3 times 1, and then you have 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 4 is 9, 3 times 4 is 12, and 15, and 18. And then 3 times 1 is 6, and 3 times 2 is 12, and 3 times 3 is 18. Well, the first number that 3 and 6 go into, the first number is 6. So use that one. You could use 12 because they both go into 12. You could use 18. They both go into 18. But the first one, the smallest one, is 6. So we want denominators that are 6s. And the good news is that's already a 6. Since that's already a 6, you don't have to change the numerator. It's a 5/16. But the 4/3, we have to convert this by multiplying by 2 over 2. And this is now 4 times 2. This is 8 over 6. So this is by subtraction. This is 5 minus 8 all over 6. So now it's 5 minus 8. Negative 3 over 6. So the answer is negative. Is that lowest terms?
No.
So 3 over 6. Negative 1/2. 3 goes into 3 one time. 3 goes into 6 2 times. So negative 1 over 2. So negative 1/2. Okay. I want to make sure we understand this. Negative 1/2 is exactly the same as negative 1 over 2, which would also be acceptable as positive 1 over negative 2. So when you write a negative fraction, it could be out in front, negative 1/2. It could be in the numerator, a negative 1 over 2. Or it could even be in the denominator, 1 over negative 2. as long as you have one negative, that fraction is negative. Okay? All of that is acceptable. They're all the same number. So one more fraction right there. Common denominator would be 9 and a 5. 45. So what we're doing when we get the common denominator, we're listing the multiples. So we have 9 and we have 5. 9 times 1, 9 times 2 is 18, then 27. We know if it's a common multiple and you have 5 to the other one, it has to end in a 5 or 0. The only thing 5 is going to divide is something that ends in a 5 or 0. So 27, the next one is 36, the next one would be 45. That's the first number, the first multiple of 9 that ends in a 5. That's the only thing 5 would also go into. So 45 would be the common denominator. Or you list them all out and then you circle the one that's. So to change this, and don't forget it's a negative, to change that denominator into a 45, we multiply by 5 over 5. 5 times 7, 35. To change this into a 45, we're going to multiply by 9 over 9. 3 times 9, 27. So numerator, negative 35 plus 27, all over 45. Okay, negative 35 plus 27 is a positive or negative. Negative. And you negative. How many more negative is 35 versus 27? 8. So it's negative 8 over 45. And that doesn't reduce. The only thing that will go into 8 is a 2 or 4. And those are even numbers and they're not going to divide 45. So there's no common factor. Now we got 4 fractions. So we need a common denominator. Doesn't matter how many fractions we have, we just need a common denominator. So what you do is you take 2 of the denominators, you find that common denominator, then you take the third one, and then you find that common denominator, and then you take the fourth one. You find 2 at a time. So here's my denominator. You have a 2, then you got a 4, then you got a 3, and then you have a 10. So 2 and the 4. Well, common denominator for this is going to be a what?
4.
4. Because the multiples. 2 times 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 1. The least common denominator for this right here would be a 4. So I would change both of these to 4s, but then I got the 3 over it. So right now, the least common denominator is a 4. But here comes the 3 and the 10. So now we look at the 4 and the 3. So 4, and then you got 8, and we got 12, and you got 16, 20, and for 3. For 3, you got 6, and then you got 9, and then you got 12. That's the least common denominator for 4 and 3. So the least common denominator for 2, 4, and 3, for these 3 numbers. For these 2, it's a 4, but for the first 3, that's a 12. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So now you just gotta worry about the 10. So these, the least common denominators of 12. So now we got to deal with 12 and 10. So if I'm worried about 10, the only thing that is gonna, 10 can go into is something that ends in a 0.
If it ends in a 0, 10 goes into it. So the multiples of 12. That's what. So 12, 24, 36, 48. Look at that, 60. So 10, 20, 40, 50, 60. So the least common multiple for 12 and 10 is 60. So the least common multiple for all four is going to be a 60. Now, we can do this question any way you want. You got 2, 4, 3, and 10. Maybe you want to work with 3 and 10 first. You got to find one common multiple for two numbers anyway. I have 4 fractions. You got to find a common multiple for 2 of them. So if I take care of the 3 and 10, well, it's got to end in a 0. The only way you're going to get 0 is to the 30. You got your 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, and then 30. And then you got your 10, 20, 30. So the least common multiple for the 3 and the 10, that is 30. And let's go to 2. 2 and the 30. We're going to do 2 and the 30. So now I'm going to do the 2 and the 30. Well, 2 and 30, 30 is even. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. This dot, dot, dot. 2 is going to go in the 30. So for 2 and 30, the least common multiple is also going to be 30. So 30 is this one as well. So now you're just dealing with 4 and 30. The only thing 30 going into is 30. The next one would be 60. 4 goes into 60. Or we list them out. 4 times 8 and then 12. But then if you go here, 4 times 15 is equal to 115. That'll give us 60. 4 goes into 60 as well. So it doesn't matter if you do them in order, 2 and 4, and then that with 3, and then that with 10, or you can pick and do them in any order that you want. But you want to find the common denominator 2 numbers at a time. And once you find that common denominator, pick another number, find one with that extra number. And then once you have the common denominator for 3 of them, find the fourth. So for 2, 4, 3, and 10, the new denominator needs to be a 60. Hey, mean for it to be all jumbled up here with all these different, hey, look at these different ways to do it. So, do you have any questions before I proceed? Does everybody understand the system? We're good. To get a 2 and make a 60, you have to multiply by 30. So this has to be 30 over 30. 5 times 30, this is now 150. Minus. To make a 4 become a 60, it's 4 times 15. So you have to multiply by 15 over 15. 3 times 15 is 45. That is plus. To multiply 3 and make a 60, it's 3 times 20. That'll give us 60. So we got to multiply by 20 over 20. So the numerator is 2 times 20. That is a 4.
Last one, the denominator is 10, and convert 10 and make it 60. We got to multiply 6 over 6. So 7 times 6 is 42. 10 times 6 is 6. So this is one single denominator of 60. The numerator is 150 minus 45 plus 40 plus 42. $150 minus 45, this is 105. And then you have plus 40 plus 42. 105 plus 40, that's 145 plus 42. And 145 plus 42 is 187 over 60. The only thing going into 60 are 2s and 3s and 4s and 10s. Now 5. Well, 187. Well, if 2 and 3 don't go, 6 won't go. So 187 is not even, so 2 doesn't work. And if 2 doesn't work, 4 is not going to work. 3. 1 plus 8 is 9. 9 plus 7 is 16. And 16 is not divisible by 3, so it's not divisible by 3. And 5, it doesn't end in 5, so it's not divisible by 5. So that's the terms. That's the final answer. Now here come the variables. Here come the letters. Here comes the language. If you say it to yourself and you hear it, it might make it a little more understanding. So as you do these questions, mumble. You'll get that little swirl in your head saying it to you as you hear it. And we're not. 5.2 x. What that means is 5.2 times some variable x. If it's just right next to a variable, that's multiplication. This is called the coefficient. It tells us how many x's we have. So 5.2x minus 3.6x, and then plus 1.2x. It's telling us how many of those x's we have. So 5.2 x's minus 3.6 x's. So 5.2 of these things minus 3.6 of those things. 5.2 of them, take away 3.6 of them. Is it going to be positive or negative?
Positive.
Can be positive if it's more positive. So if we move over here, 5.2 minus 3.6, we're just doing the subtraction. Got to borrow. So that's a 4, that's a 12, 6 point. We get 1.6 x's left over. 5.2 of them, take away 3.6x, leaves 1.6x, and then we got plus 1.2x. There we go. It's exactly like saying if I have 2 red pins and I go plus 1 red pin, 2 red pin plus 1 red pin gives me 3 red pins. 2 of them plus 1 of them make 3 of them. It's a quantity. How many of these plus 1 more of these is 3 of them. 5.2 of them, so 2 of them, or 3 of them, take away 1 of them. 3 of them take away 1 of them. 5 of them take away 3 of them. How many of these do I have left?
I have two of the red pins left. So you have to put the concept, you have to put, what do I have left? I have two. No, I don't have two left. I have two red pins left. There's an attachment to something. I'm subtracting red pin. I'm subtracting X's. So what do we have left? 1.6 X's left. And when I see a handwritten test, that X won't be written. They'll just put 1.6. So it's that I'm not practicing when I do homework, or I'm not practicing when I do notes or whatever. I'm not practicing the concept of keeping track of quantities. I'm not practicing that this means something. We're keeping tabs on what we're actually combining together. We have different kinds of things we're trying to combine together. When we say combine like terms, we want to combine all of these X's with all of these Y's with all of these Z's. We want to combine all of these tetracycline pills with all of these hydrochloric acid pills. That's not something that applies. That's not something we want to take. All of these Tamiflu pills with all of these ibuprofen pills. Well, they're not the same kind of pill. So you can't, so you got to keep track of what's what. So now we have 1.6 X's and 1.2 X's. So now you're just combining the numbers. 1.6 and 1.2, so that's an 8 in the tenths, and that's 2 in the 1. So 1.6 of these X's plus 1.2 more X's is 2.8 total X's. Okay. You're just adding, subtracting the coefficients, but you're keeping tabs on how many of that kind of variable we have left. Same thing happens when you're dealing with fractions. So on number 10 for here, 2/3 Y minus 1/2 Y plus 4/5 Y. I have 2/3 of some Y value minus 1/2 of the Y value plus 4/5 of the Y value. Well, I got fractions. First thing, common denominator. I'm adding, subtracting fractions. First thing, common denominator. So for a 2 and a 3, the first thing that 2 and 3 both go into, what's the common denominator? So that would be a 6. So we got 3, we got 2, we got 5. The least common denominator here is going to be the 6. Now I got to take care of the 5. So from the 6 and the 5, what's the least common denominator for those? 30. So the least common denominator for all three of them is a 30. That's the first number that 3, 2, and 5 will go into. It's 30. Everybody all right? Now, if you went 2 and 5, 2 and 5 would give us 10, and then you got to worry about 3. First number 3 and 10 would be 30. So pick any two you want to start. So I want 30. So something over 30 times the Y minus something over 30 times that one plus something over 30 times that one. So to make a 30 down here, we got to multiply by 10 over 10. In the numerator, 10 times 2, that's a 20 over 30. To change 2 into a 30, you're going to multiply by what?
15.
So we're going to multiply by 15 over 15. 15 times 1 is 15, so that's 15 over 30. Think about it. 15 over 30 is 1/2. It's the same ratio, just written now with a common denominator. To change 5 into a 30, multiply by 6 over 6. So our new numerator, 6 times 4, was 24.
Now that all the fractions have the same denominator. The denominator is 30. The numerator is 20y minus 15y plus 24. We add and subtract the numerators. $20y, take away 15y. So 20 of them take away 15.
Fine.
We got 5. So we have 5y. And then plus 24y all over 30. So 5y is hit and then plus 24 more y.
Right, 9 lines.
So we do 29 y's all over 30. Now you could just keep on doing it here. 20 minus 15, so 20y minus 15y, that's 5y. 5 of them plus 24y, that is equal to 29y all over 30. Okay. Okay. Now remember, I don't want this to bite you. I don't want to take away points when I know you probably meant to write it like this, but you didn't. I told you. Negative 2/3 is exactly the same as negative 2 over 3, which is exactly the same as 2 over negative. As long as there's one negative, everything is good. 29y over 30 is exactly the same as 29 over 30 times y, but is not. Not the same. Big note. 29 over 30y. Because when you write it like that, it looks like the y is in the denominator with the 30. If you want 29 over 30 times y, then you need to write it like it's a fraction in front of the y. It matters. And if you're not careful about how you punch it in, and if you don't like step aside from the denominator in the homework, it's going to put the y in the denominator. So when you hit enter, it'll be wrong. You have the right answer, but you typed it in wrong. If that happens on the test, it won't tell you. It'll just score it wrong. On the homework, it'll tell. So, you want to be safe, leave the y in the numerator, 29y over 30. So, let's take a look at the homework examples for 0.4. Adding and subtracting like terms. Nine will do it actually from Pearson on the website. It's not from the PDF. We have 10 X's plus 2 more X's, so we end up with 12 X. Now, here's a common question. Why not X squared? The only time you're going to get a power is when you multiply. X times X is X to the second. So if you multiply, you get exponents. This is just, I have 10 X's plus 2 more X's. So if I combine them together, I have a total of 12 X's. 10 of them plus 2 of them, 12 of them. 6 X's minus 8 X's. So that, who has more, positives or negatives?
Negative.
Negatives are going to win. How many more negatives are there? Negative 2X. And again, as you do the problem, read it. You're doing a test in class, mumble it, or hear a voice in your head, whether it's a squirrel, a chipmunk, or some imaginary creature. So 3 terms. So from left to right, 18 Z's take away 4 Z.
14.
That's 14 Z's, and then minus 12 more Z's. So 14 Z's take away 12 Z. 2 Z's left. You can do that all up here, but I'm just keeping track of what I did. As I combine like terms, I check them off. Don't cross them off because you won't see what's underneath what you just crossed off. Number 9, I want to show you on the Pearson website. And I'm actually going to see if I have enough room. Yes, sir. So number 9 is 2/3 A plus 4/7 times B minus 25 minus 4/5 times A minus 6/7 times B. Collect like terms, combine like terms. Like terms are terms that are exactly like each other. Terms that have exactly the same variable. So the variables have to be exactly the same. So I can only combine the A terms with the A terms, the B terms with the B terms. That's a constant. So I'm going to rewrite this in a better order. So I'm going to put the A terms first. So that's a 2/3 times A. And as I rewrite it, I'm checking each one of them off so I know that I got everybody accounted for. This one, don't forget it's a negative, minus 4/5 times A. That's all the A's we have. And then it's time for the B's. That's a positive 4/7 B.
And then a minus 6/7 times B. And then we have that last term, which is just minus 25. When I want to combine the two terms that are A's, it needs a common denominator because we don't have it yet. So I'm not even worried about the rest of it because I can only combine these two together. So what's the common denominator for 3 and a 5 going to be? We need a 15. We need 15 times an A and then minus another 15 with an A. So to get 15 out of this 3, multiplied by 5/5. This numerator is at 10. So 10/15 times A. And then minus. We need 5 to become 15. We've got to multiply by 3/3. The new numerator, 3/4, is 12. Don't finish that. Keep going from left to right. So we don't forget. Here's the good news. The two B terms. It comes with a common denominator, so we don't have to do anything extra. So positive 4/7 B minus 6/7 B. So 4/7 of a B, take away 6/7 of a B. Who has more, the positives or the negatives?
Negative.
The negative. So it's going to be a negative. 4/7 minus 6/7 B.
Negative 2/7.
4 of them minus 6 of them. 4 minus 6? So minus 2 7s times B. 4/7 minus 6/7. That's 4 minus 6 all over 7. 4 minus 6 is negative 2. So these are done. We don't have to do anything with that 25. So now just to finish this off, these two, what's 10/15 and then minus 12/15? What's 10 minus 12?
Negative.
So that's negative 2/15 times A minus 2/7 times B and then a minus 25. Can you reduce 2/15?
No.
No. Can you reduce 2/7?
No.
And that's can't do that. So you don't have to make one fraction out of that. That's it. You're done. Everything is simplified. So now we just got to make sure we type it in correct. I'm going to erase this up here and move that up. The first term is negative, and then I need a fraction. So where the heck is that for? Maybe this is
I'm all messed up because of my math 10 meeting, and you can't, I don't have the ability to do this anymore. Like you see there. So there, pardon. So, do not change it to mixed numbers, don't change it to a decimal. The directions say use integers or fractions. So we have negative 2 over 15. So 2 in the numerator, 15 down below. And then watch what happens if I don't move out from the denominator. It's still too big. If I just type A, it's down in the denominator with it. So if I don't move out of the denominator, it's going to be wrong. So what you have to do is you have to use the arrow or the mouse to make sure you slide over to the right, and then you can type the A. So now it's negative 2/15 times A. And then it is minus another fraction here. So minus 2/7, so 2 over 7. Oh, yes, 2 over 7. And then a B. And then minus 25. Hold on. Hang on, you guys. I got 3 minutes, 2 minutes over here. All right. This one and that one. First thing you got to do is what's in the parentheses. Well, 5A plus 2, you can't do anything. They're not like terms. But I want to get rid of the parentheses. It's 8A minus this parenthesis. Here's the rule. Anytime you subtract a parenthesis, you're subtracting everything on the inside. It's like having a -1 times the parentheses, so you distribute the negative. So you're going to end up with 8A, -1 times 5A is -5A, and -1 times +2 is now -2. 8A minus 5A is 3A, and then a -2. But more importantly, look at it from this perspective. Negative means opposite. A negative makes a positive become a negative, change the sign. A negative times a negative of a negative becomes a positive. It changes the sign. So when you have a negative in front of a parenthesis, everything on the inside is going to change the sign. So this is 4D minus 5. A negative times a +3, that's now -3. A negative times a -4D, that's now +4D. Those two signs are going to change. When you have a negative in front of a parenthesis, the negative when you subtract is going to change the signs of everything on the inside because of the distributive problem. Now we just combine like terms. I have 4 D's plus 4 more D's. So 4 of them plus 4 of them, that's 8 D's. I have 5 negatives and 3 more negatives. So 5 negative minus 3 is -8. Whenever you subtract a parenthesis, it just changes the sign. And then you can drop the negative and combine like it. So we will finish up the few that we have left, and we'll get 8-5 going, 8-5, 0-5 going, and we should be on task for Monday.
You got it?
Yeah. Right? That is for you.
Look, you didn't do this. That's, you forgot to write this. If you put
Oh,
that
okay.
and then